Well, all right, folks, coming up on 12:02. Appreciate everybody's patience and thank you again for joining today's webinar. Today's webinar is kind of special for us here at the CBSCA. It is our kickoff to our tech off. This is our first time trying out a fantastic competition here involving blockchain and supply chain. We all know that blockchain can bring a lot to the supply chain world, and through this tech off, we hope to bring forward some interesting solutions. And here on online with us, I'll introduce you to a couple of guests. From Digital Asset, we have Chris, and Chris, you can introduce yourself a bit later when we show up when we show off your beautiful platform. We also have from DLT Labs, JD and Shannon. Nice to see you again, folks. And we have a special guest, last minute addition. Probably chime in a bit later. AJ is the CIO and co-founder of DLT Labs. So we're happy to have him participate today. Just a quick housekeeping. Everybody, of course, is muted. Panelists are going to answer maybe some questions about a bit later. We are recording and we'll be posting this webinar on YouTube and a few other channels later on. A bit of the agenda for today, a bit about this competition to kick us off, and about the CBSCA, of course. We wouldn't be doing ourselves any favor if we don't talk about ourselves a wee bit. The timeline of our competition, a bit about the rules, and we're not stickler for rules, but just to guide us through what we're looking for on this tech off. We will also introduce to you our judging panel, and we have a distinguished list of participants, and we'll also be introducing them a bit more in depth throughout the coming days. Of course, our partners, DLT Labs and Digital Asset with DAML, and they'll be giving us a bit of a run through their platform that potential participants will be able to use for this competition, which is fantastic. And at the end, quick Q&A, and we'll be posting these Q&A on our website as well. So again, thank you for joining, and let's kick this off. Let me just pop up the chat button here, if I can find it. Oops. There we go. All right. So who are we at the CBSCA? For those who don't know us, we are the Canadian Blockchain Supply Chain Association. The name kind of says it all. We are a member-driven association whose mission is through advocacy, through collaboration, and through education. We want to help support the supply chain industry, better understand what blockchain technology is, how they can adopt it, and how we can move the whole industry forward through blockchain-related technologies. We want to serve as a resource for you, so reach out anytime. We're here to help and hopefully move things forward. Go back to my slide. There we go. Hey, so why are we kicking off this beautiful competition today? Times are tough out there with COVID specifically. This pandemic is driving absolutely everybody nuts. We need to do something about it, and this is our chance to participate in that. The supply chain industry has been stretched, has been keeping very busy lately. Everybody's pitching in, and this is our chance to pitch in as well. And this competition is about coming together as a community to bring technology solutions to the supply chain world. Why blockchain, or why COVID? COVID's an important topic these days here in Canada specifically. The vaccine distribution is set for sometime in January. So we want to bring technology solutions to help ease that, and look at other ideas too for the supply chain. So what do we want to do? We want to mobilize people, right? We want to generate business opportunities through blockchain related technologies. It's about mobilizing. It's about coming together as well as a community and finding new ways of doing things through innovation, through business strategy as well. And blockchain does bring forward new business strategy potential. It's opening up different things that we can do before, and every business should be looking at what they can do differently, and that's how we all evolve. And of course, breaking down silos. I mean, from a person, a humble opinion like myself, I've been in the business for or the logistics business for a bunch of years. Silos still exist, and that's definitely something we need to break down and collaborate together between companies, between different departments, and just move forward. So what are we looking for in this competition? We want your ideas, and we'll go through the rules, but the rules are very simple. We want your ideas on how we can utilize blockchain technology, distributed ledger technologies, and other emerging technologies to optimize the supply chain. So that being said, our main theme is around vaccine distribution logistics. Vaccine distribution logistics is going to be very demanding over the next few months as these vaccines are pushed out. And hopefully we can bring a technology solutions that will help support our government here in Canada, your government if you're not in Canada, to better plan, better execute this distribution. It's not just about vaccines, of course. PPE can come into play. So anything health related or healthcare related would be a fantastic topic that we'd like to see come forward. That being said, we're not limiting the competition just to healthcare. We are opening up to anything related to supply chain. So logistics, financial, retail, and some ideas here are on screen. But again, if you have a fantastic idea, and we know a lot of people have fantastic ideas, bring it forward. It's open to. Quick overview of our timelines. We announced the kickoff a few weeks ago on October 23rd. Today is our kickoff webinar. So welcome to folks who are interested. Starting today, if you go on the CBSCA website, registrations are open, and you'll see that easy link that you can submit high-level information. So all we're looking for there is your team captain, your coordinates, so we can get in touch with you and coordinate over the next couple of days. Next important milestones is we are closing the registrations on November 20th. So by end of day, 5 o'clock Eastern time, the competition will close, and the registration page will close as well. About a week after that, we will be announcing teams that have registered. And why are we doing this? Because we want to promote cross collaboration. You might be a single coder and you have a great idea, but you're looking for resources in IoT or a logistics provider, and you might be able to team up and find a better solution altogether, right? That's not an obligation, but we're hoping that the community will come together to push forward fantastic solutions. A bit after that, and we're giving you time to prepare your files and prepare your projects, is the closure of, and let me again move, whoops. I don't like this, there we go. So December 18th, is the deadline to submit your high-level ideas. We're hoping to have a lot of submissions and take your best crack at it. All that being said, January 15th, we plan on shortlisting around 10 teams, and that's not a closed number, but around 10 of the best ideas will be shortlisted, and we'll announce those teams as well. About a month after that, we close the competition. And by closing the competition, what we intend on doing is having a live presentation with our panel of judges that we'll be seeing in a few seconds here. And you'll be able to pitch your ideas to this panel of judges. And by February 25th, of course, our judges will be hard at work, sifting through all your fantastic ideas, and we will have our closing gala. So if you have any questions, again, use the Q&A button as we go along. We'll answer those questions at the end. And, hopefully this timeline is long enough for folks to be able to dive deep within their organizations and work on a project together. Typical hackathons, right, happen over maybe 1 or 2 days. This is not a hackathon per se, it's more of a takeoff competition. And we want to give you the time to come together as a community, come together as organizations, break down those silos again, and bring forward some good solutions. So, what are the rules? So the rules are quite easy. And of course, the complete set of rules is on our website. It has to have a blockchain component. It could be a new blockchain component. It can be an existing blockchain component, but you're bringing something new to the table with it. And of course, supply chain. And as we saw earlier, supply chain is quite large. You can go into many topics from procurement to logistics to planning to anything like that. Will it make it to production? We've had enough of POC. We're POC'd out these days. So will your idea make it to production? And actually, we're here to help you bring that idea to production. And we'll talk about that a bit later with our panelists. What do you need to do to bring your idea into production, right? Break down your silos. Bring in your finance people, bring in your IT people, bring in your operations people, mobilize the company. That's what we're hoping for. We are asking participants to have at least one member per team. Again, if you are having cross-functional teams or you want to reach out to other members, we can facilitate that. But we are asking you to have at least one CBSCA member per team. And to be honest, our membership fees are really low. Join the fun, join the community, and come and learn about blockchain with us. Yes, this is Canada. So submissions in English or French are absolutely permitted. And most importantly, let's have fun with this competition. Like I mentioned, more details on our website at cbsca.ca, hack the chain. Our panel, and these are our panel of judges. In alphabetical order, we have a great crew that has graciously volunteered to look at everybody's work, and we'll be providing some guidance on judging criteria to participants later on. But we have Sri Chala, who's a senior director from Infosys, well-versed in blockchain. We have Mr. Jeremy Clark here at Concordia University in Montreal, another blockchain expert. We have Dr. Harish, who is from the University of British Columbia, very strong in operations and logistics. We have Lee Nguyen, who is from Accenture, another great blockchain expert on our panel. Jay Patel from Microsoft, and Bruce Rogers from CIFA, the Canadian International Freight Forwarding Association. So, and we're working on a couple extra judges to be announced at a later date. So that being said, that's more than enough for me. I'd like to take a chance to thank again our panelists that are on today. Chris, I'll hand everything over to you.
Great. Thank you so much. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen.
You bet.
Actually, you do mind. You have to enable host sharing.
I was just going to say that. There you go. You should have all the
Still not yet.
And there we go. All yours.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you so much. And let's see if we can get the Zoom magic working today. All right. So before we dive in, Chris Clayson, I run all things partnerships at Digital Asset. Let me get this video over here so I'm not staring back and forth. Very rude of me. There we go. That's better. So run all things partners at Digital Asset, which means I work with our technology partners, our ledger partners, our ISV partners, and our systems integrators partners. I've been at DA for about 4 years. Prior to DA, did various business development roles. Before that, I was an engineer, worked for Facebook in the hyperscale space, that sort of thing. So I get the business side, still fairly close to the technology. Goal of this presentation here is to give enough background about Digital Asset where our approach and our tooling makes a bit more sense with the context with some of the early customers we've gone after and how our own tooling evolved and we've made it available to the market. So not a sales pitch, but more of a kind of a background session and gives a very high level overview of the tools that we have and how we can accelerate blockchain based solutions. So Digital Asset started developing full stack solutions for major market infrastructure providers. ASX was our lead client. We expanded into healthcare and supply chain spaces after that. Main point on this slide is our tooling was developed because there wasn't tooling on the market that existed that allowed us to do what we needed to do for clients such as ASX. So large market infrastructure providers needed privacy, they needed data segmentation, all kinds of things that you would expect in these very large mission critical type platform providers. So our tooling was really geared towards these customers. So you see a lot of enterprise features and we focus on privacy, security, those sorts of things in our full software stack. One of the other interesting angles that we have that the company has been evolving to is not just providing software tooling for single DLT networks, but we are developing tooling to enable DAML transactions to do essentially atomic transactions across DLT networks. So DLT networks reduce data silos, but what you typically have are just larger data silos. By enabling interoperability across DLT networks, you actually properly remove the data silos, and you can do transactions that require different business domains to be part of a single transaction and do those transactions atomically. So, so what are we trying to do with DAML itself? Well, as I mentioned, we develop these tools so we can build very complex solutions that are doing like clearing and settlement for the Australian equities market. What we found with the existing tooling is, most of the development work just is just not relevant to the business value. So you're spending a lot of time coding systems types things, and you're not really focused on solving the business problems and creating business value. And then different implementations prevent interoperability. We'll talk about this more on the other slide, but by providing a standard layer across various infrastructures, it accelerates the ability to provide cross-chain transactions and do it in an easy way without requiring a lot of manual two-phase commit type integrations and stuff like that. So, one of our taglines is write once, run everywhere, connect to everything. Essentially what this means is, you write a DAML application, you can deploy it onto various blockchain protocols. Have a list here at the bottom that we support. VMware Blockchain is one of our strategic partners. We support, Hyperledger Fabric, Sawtooth. We also have the ability to run on top of standard databases where you see the benefits of complex multi-party workflows with smart contracts, but don't necessarily need decentralization. Then some other benefits of the DAML stack itself. We'll get into kind of what the software stack looks like, and we'll talk about the SDK tools available as well on some later slides. But DAML itself is really designed to be very concise and efficient, so you can just focus on the business logic itself, and all the systems code that's necessary to actually deploy and operate and execute transactions in a blockchain network is taken care of automatically by our integrations. So what we have is essentially a DAML driver that's unique for each of the underlying blockchains, but then the DAML runtime and the DAML ledger API are then identical. So think of it as a way that we essentially put our platform on top of various infrastructures, and now you have a common set of tools that you can use independent of the underlying persistence layer. And those integrations do work on both the blockchain DLT networks, and you can also run them on top of centralized databases like PostgreSQL. Let's see here. So when you first start writing DAML, so our SDK is freely available. There's the last slide has a bunch of links, but DAML Studio is really your entry point into the DAML tooling. Visual Studio Code plugin, so Visual Studio Code's freely available. Our plugin loads, lots of very nice developer tooling around syntax highlighting and auto completion. You expect that from any mature language. One of the interesting features, which is great for these hackathon types of events and also just developing applications in general, is the scenario testing. It's built in. So we have a scenario language that allows you to essentially do test-driven development, at the same time within the interface. So you can write your application, you can write your scenarios, and actually validate all the logic works while you're within the IDE environment. And then again, we do contract validation inline as well. So very easy to debug logic errors and that sort of thing. Key DAML properties, again, just going to go through these fairly quickly. Again, faster feature development. We're all about developer efficiency in our messaging. Our goal is to provide flexibility that lets you integrate into existing systems. Blockchain applications often have to interact with things in like SAP or Salesforce, that sort of thing. So our SDK stack has a bunch of frameworks that allow these integrations to happen easily. We provide multiple language bindings and also a low-level gRPC. So Java, Python, use whatever language you're comfortable using. Some of our frameworks are more mature than others, and we definitely have kind of a recommended path for those getting started. But we do provide the low-level APIs in case you do want to use a language that's not fully supported out of our SDK today. And then, of course, immutable contracts is a key blockchain feature. One of the things that we do that's unique, or at least not everybody does in the blockchain space, is all of our contract upgrade workflow logic is done on chain, along with our party management, which is like our user management. So, in some other systems, you have these kind of split states where you've got to keep the state synchronized between, okay, what contracts and application logic is being used at a specific point in time, what users are entitled on the system. All that stuff's packaged together for a seamless experience with our tooling. So jumping into kind of the advantage here of abstracting the system language. This is an example of an interest rate swap written in Kotlin for the Corda platform. Fairly concise, but what you notice here is the business logic is actually only a very small portion of the entire code. You have a lot of systems code around generating hash functions, crypto. It's stuff that doesn't add business value, but is necessary to run the application. So again, nothing bad about Kotlin or designing contracts this way. It's just from if you're a business analyst or someone that's not a hardcore DLT systems programmer, being able, having to do all the systems code makes writing applications less approachable, or you often need more senior developers or specialized developers to build business applications. The same application in DAML shrinks down to 102 lines of code, and it's pure business logic. Again, you may still need to be a programmer to write this code, but looking at the actual smart contract templates, what we found is the business analysts can at least understand the code, and then we often see as the business analysts or non-technical users are the ones that are developing the scenarios that I mentioned earlier that then validate that your code here is correct. So we're really trying to make distributed applications much more approachable. So not just your very senior or experienced blockchain developers can write applications. We're trying to extend it into the business units at various entities so they can write apps themselves. So preview of what's in the DAML stack, and I believe we're going to do sessions in the future where we can dig into some of these tools in quite a bit more detail. But we have essentially a full suite of development tools. So we have DAML Studio that lets you write the DAML contracts themselves. And then we have a bunch of language bindings and libraries that allow you to interact with those smart contracts. A couple key features. We generate code from the contracts themselves. So we have some interesting code gen capabilities. in TypeScript and Java. There are some standard libraries available that are part of our SDK that give you some building blocks. The DAML language itself is designed to support composable applications. So we have a bunch of these standard library building blocks are available to you that you can kind of chain together or create your own libraries that you can then extend or compose with other libraries. Bunch of other SDK tools in the box as well. I won't go into too much detail here. DAML triggers are interesting though. They support essentially automation. So you look for an event on the ledger, it does some logic, and then sends reads an event, processes, and then triggers a state update automatically for you. It's a real easy framework to get up and running. And then the DAML drivers. This is our abstraction layer into the underlying ledgers. We support multiple ledgers and more coming every day. Project DAML is really interesting, especially for these hackathons and also for customers looking to get into production very quickly. Project DAML is a hosted DAML ledger. So for this hackathon, you can spin up your own ledger, do rapid prototyping. Multiple users can access the same ledger remote, so it's great for collaboration. And the most important thing, it's free to use, free to get started. There are enterprise tiers with support, but for hackathons and getting started, anyone can go sign up. Create groups to work on applications together, and there's some additional tooling available just in the DAML realm that you can leverage as well for quick starts on applications. And how to get engaged. Quite a few links here. We have great documentation. We're very proud of it. Great technical documentation. There's lots of examples available that show you kind of the proper design patterns. There's a marketplace where some of our partners and Digital Asset have posted some sample applications. And then, of course, we've got great tutorials and YouTube videos as well. And discuss.daml.com is our community forum. We're very proud of that as well. We respond very quickly to requests. During the hackathon, if you have questions, this is a great forum to get almost real-time support from us, if not real-time. We have people monitoring it all the time. And I guess with that, Eric, unless you have questions, I'll hand it back to you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Chris. It's great of Digital Asset to be providing all these tools. And I think you touched on it quickly. This is not just for coders, right? The business analysts, the supply chain professionals, they can go in and create their scenario of their smart contract, right?
Exactly. So what we often see is you develop the scenarios first, and then you make the code work so the scenario passes. So yeah, it's a great way to involve not just programmers in these types of events, but people that actually have business problems that they want to address with software.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Chris. And again, folks, if you have some questions, try to use the Q&A button. We have a couple of questions coming in, and we'll answer those questions after our next guest. So Shannon and JD, I think you're up next. All yours.
I'll share my screen here.
Super. While JD is bringing that up, I'll just introduce myself. So Shannon Hamilton. I work at DLT Labs with JD and Ajay. I'm responsible for the growth and adoption of our technology, primarily in North America, but we've got lots of great conversations happening globally, which is awesome. And we're really excited to be partnering with the Canadian Blockchain Supply Chain Association and DAML and all of the judges around this hackathon. I think, Eric, what you were just saying, and Chris, what you just elaborated on around, how do we make this technology easier for supply chain professionals, the industry at large to understand its value and the benefit without it being super intimidating is what I'm really excited to help facilitate as part of this event. So thank you for that opportunity. We're going to spend a little bit of time getting you familiar with sort of what DLT Labs has built and has available to help support the hackathon. What we've focused on is really a user interface, and I'm going to focus, my introduction is going to be focused sort of for the business users in the audience. So if you're in supply chain and you're not comfortable thinking about the ones and zeros of how you're going to code a potential POC solution for this event, please stay tuned because I'm going to speak to that, and then I'm going to pass it over to Ajay to speak a little bit more about the developer tools and the capabilities we have from that standpoint. And then hopefully the combination of the two will give you a good sense of how we can help support this great initiative. So our platform has really been built in a series of interoperable modules. So over the course of about 8 years, we've really focused on the typical business outcomes that many organizations have brought to us to say, you know, we have this problem and we believe blockchain and the technology would really help unify and break down all of those information silos so that everybody is on the same page. So our platform basically has modules that are focused around the tracking of assets. In this case, that could be a vaccine. Ecosystem could be the exchange of currency and value. Certify is, you know, documentation, provenance, the ability to authenticate specific pieces of information. And consent is everything to do with privacy and information sharing, which could, in this case, go right down to, you know, the individual citizens that are receiving a vaccine. So what's important to know there is that when you're envisioning what your proof of concept solution is going to look like as part of this hackathon, the user interface that we make available to you is going to be allowing you to pull in features and functions from all of these different products within our platform. Next slide, JD. So again, at a very high level, what allows us to be able to do this is the user interface that we've built sits above the blockchain layer. So distributed ledger has many great benefits, you know, the smart contracts, the trust and the transparency, the immutable nature of data that's stored on it. But most importantly, we want to make it easy for really about a BA type skill set to be able to work within the platform to configure, you know, the workflows and accomplish a blockchain-based solution without having to get into the coding. We definitely have the developer tools that Ajay will speak to, but there's also the ability to really make it quite accessible to business users as well. And so what we've done is really focus on how do we make that accessible and easy through our technology. So what the industry is faced with, and Eric, you did a really great job of sort of highlighting some of the great use cases, but typically you've got a number of organizations in distribution and in supply chain and transportation and logistics that really are meant to work together, but their systems are not, right? Organizations were not set up in a way where all of our data silos and our multiple ERP systems and logistics and transportation management systems are talking together. So inherently, one of the big challenges we have in thinking about distribution of a vaccine or a case, you know, around COVID is how do you connect all of the key participants and stakeholders in an easy way to facilitate that information sharing to enable trust and transparency. So I think this is probably a familiar challenge to everyone. So just click through, JD. So what we're going to show you as we get more time to spend on our technology is that distributed ledger and the DLT Labs platform really allows you to easily connect through API the various existing systems that organizations have in order to share information in a consolidated way. So, you know, we really see distributed ledger overall, whether you're working with us or somebody else, is the additive to your existing tech stack. How do you take that information, unify it, and contextualize it within a business process? So it's super exciting. And I'm hoping that we demystify it for many of the participants in this event as we get everyone more comfortable and more familiar and actually work on a tangible use case. Ajay, over to you to introduce and speak a little bit about the DL Gateway and some of the developing tools that we have for the community.
Thanks, Shannon. Hello, guys. So just now, whatever Shannon told about was more towards the platform, which are more towards business community and the business analysts. They provide you an UI, UX, and interface where if you understand your business use case, you understand your underlying business problem, you can go and create business workflows. You can go and create business conditions. You can go ahead and integrate that particular system to your own ERP system, your own SAP system. With certain tweaking with the APIs. But this particular product, which I'm going to talk about, it's more towards the developer community, and it's more towards solving the problem related to the blockchain infrastructure. So in any case, whenever you require to host a smart contract or you require to host a chain code or host any blockchain application in the backend, you require good amount of infrastructure. At the same time, you require expertise, knowledge in order to manage those infrastructure and in order to make sure that infrastructure is up and running with good availability, with good amount of uptime. So we obfuscate all those problems for you and present you out of the box solution where you can just come and deploy your smart contract, build over your blockchain application, your dApps, and rest all will be taken care by us. So here you can come, you can create your own project, you can share those projects for collaboration purpose so that 2 or 3 people or n number of people can work on the same chain code, they can work on the same smart contract. And whatever you do on this platform, one way is to do and come onto the console and do it. Other way, there are RESTful APIs exposed through which you can use your own client in order to communicate. If you have your own set of automation tooling engine which are running, you can integrate these APIs and expose or do whatever you want to do via set of your tooling engines. So there are various other tools with us, but for this particular session, I only wanted to dwell in this because we have some limited amount of time with us. That's all I'll be sharing from my side.
Great, thanks, Ajay.
I'm going to pass it over, JD, over to you to ground everyone in the principles around the user interface for DL Asset Track.
Perfect, thank you. So really what I want to showcase and highlight is how easy it is within our platform from a user logging in and configuring to get to that end production state. And that really what we've developed and built out over the years into our platform, and specifically DL Asset Track for these use cases, is that no coding is really required. There are areas if you do wish to code and add if you don't see it fit for the configuration at hand, but really from a configuration standpoint, it's very easy to actually set up your full workflow within our platform and get running in that production level state. So what we're viewing here is the actual login when the admin has a login account for Asset Track and is configuring a use case. What we can see on the left-hand side are some key concepts in a navigational panel, and what they are actually set up within the platform are in order of the order of configuration to set up to get to that end workflow state. So what I want to do is just spend some quick time to go over very high level, and we can have breakout sessions afterwards to really dive into the configuration. But what I just want to showcase is how easy it is to get to that end state. So starting off at the asset category level, this is where we're defining any of the assets that need to be actually tracked and traced within the use case. So an asset within Asset Track can be anything from a truck ID to an actual document to a city location to a certain tax for a specific province. And really what we do here is we define all of those attributes. And then at this level, we are also configuring the smart contracts to make those automated business calculations within the platform. So within our platform, we've really made it easy for the end user to select from a drop-down list of formulas to configure actual smart contract. And really, once you select one of the formulas at hand, it populates that full formula out within the platform that you can see on the right-hand side here. So here we can see a smart contract that is calculating the total value for an invoice. And we can see all of the tax calculations that are at hand. So really at this level within configuration at this first step, it makes it endless, limitless possibilities for any use case to configure those attributes and smart contracts to really automate your entire process and bring all of those systems into one place. At the next stage is the asset profile. And this piece is really just used for organization if you want to run multiple workflows within the platform. So here we can see a list of these attributes. And again, these could be things such as your city location from where your shipment's coming from to the end destination where it's going to, the actual shipment ID, or it could be the weight of the shipment. Any of those attributes would be set in that asset category level within the platform. Whereas now at this asset profile level, you can break those asset or those attribute groups out into profiles so that you don't have to have a redundant step in order to create multiple workflows and recreate those attributes. You can break them off, and it's really then just use as an organization piece. At the next stage, we actually define who are the organizations that are taking part in the actual workflow. So who are those key members and really who's doing what and when. So we create groups within the actual platform within configuration, and really all that's required at this stage is to configure the group name and a description of that group. So here we just have a set example list of some of the group names, and then really what this is uses to link then the user roles that would be logging in under those groups. So at the next stage, we have the participants and the auditors if required. So here we're just entering in the contact information for that user to be linked and associated to the group on the previous slide. So at this stage, we're giving authorized users access to the platform to log in and see exactly what is happening at each stage within their given step of the workflow. And at this stage too, we can also configure an auditor if need be in the use case. And this could be an internal or external resource. And really what this auditor's role would entail is to log into the platform if there is ever a dispute or discrepancy within the workflow and review that information given at hand. And what they can do then is in the production state, either move that workflow along or stop it and confirm exactly why that dispute's happening with the organization that's causing that dispute and either change those values or cancel that process completely. And then once you've configured those key concepts, and again, this is pretty high level, but it really is that easy to work within the platform. You're able to set your end workflow state. So within the platform, you're able to actually click and add each group to set the sequence of who's doing what and when. So here we just have an example of a standard shipment that would take place between a shipper and carrier. So we have the freight systems who would be starting off the shipment and issuing that tender. We would have the carrier then accepting that tender and the carrier transport organization actually moving that shipment along. The carrier then would confirm that that shipment's been completed. And then what I have here is this last state to just show what it looks like in the platform. I would click the add button here and then add the final stage, which would be the freight payables. And really at this stage, we're able to just set who's doing what and when. And then you can see there's a lot of options below each of these stages to allow certain values within the workflow to either automate the process completely or require certain checkpoints at each stage. And once you've gone through those key concepts and set up and configured your actual use case, you'll be able to see what it looks like now in the platform. So without diving into the actual platform, I just have a couple screen grabs here. I just want to showcase what that production level state looks like. Here we have a workflows page. So the configuration has already been done, and we've launched some of these actual workflow instances off. In this use case for this demo environment, I grabbed screenshots out of. This is an example of the solution we provided for Walmart Canada between their shippers and their carriers. So there are some shipments here that are actually in transport, but here we can see one that's been completed. So within the actual application, you're able to see a timeline view of exactly who's done what and when with a date and timestamp. And we can see that this has been fully completed and paid off by Walmart Canada. Also, we can see one that's in an auditor state, and we can see the red auditor that's actually reviewing why this workflow is in a dispute status. And then we can also see one that's still currently in progress. And then within the platform, you're able to actually click into this shipment that's still in progress and see all of the information at hand of what's currently happening. So this is really where now all of your attributes and smart contracts come into play. So now we can see all of the attributes, certain things I was talking about, such as the shipment ID or the actual city location where it's coming from and where it's going to. But really at this page, you can see the shipment and all of those smart contracts come alive because all the invoice information is automatically populated now. So at this stage as well, you're able to do things such as generate invoices and really review any changes such as accessorial charges take place. And really, this is where you can see all of the information so that both members can log in and see exactly what's happening in one place. And then just even further within the actual platform login, each member is able to actually see analytical insights into dashboard views. So customizable widgets that you can set up and really just see all of the information and data at hand. And really, without going just because I'm watching the time here, I want to give some time for Q&A. That's really just what I wanted to showcase from the Asset Track platform. But if there is interest, then we can do further deep dives into the actual configuration, and I can walk through exactly how easy it is to set this up to get to your end production state and running your workflows. So I'll stop sharing my screen here.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, JD. So folks, blockchain, scary, right? No, it's not that scary. It's pretty easy. Just get to do it. So you get the practice too. And kidding aside, let me ask you a couple of questions here, folks on our panel. Do companies need to put aside their systems, right? Their TMSs? I think we've touched on it already, but I want folks to really think about this. Do folks need to put aside their TMSs, their WMSs, their SAPs, their ERPs, right? Everybody's nodding no, right? It's fantastic, right? So remember that. So everybody thinks that blockchain's a big monster. Blockchain's a tool. It's just a tool that makes for sharing of information in a trustworthy fashion a lot easier. So think about that and think about your processes today. Quick question for Shannon and JD. You touched on Walmart. Walmart is a big implementation. How long did it take you to implement that solution?
A little over 60 days once we defined what we wanted to do. So it doesn't have to take, 12, 18, 24 months. I think a lot of people, when they're thinking custom development, we're not building things from scratch. This is something that's already built, so it can be done easily in under 90 days. Right.
So easy, again, easy. We do have a couple of questions. So if folks have other questions, feel free to use the Ray, thank you for your 2 questions. Let's tackle this first one here that I can take here. So for the February 18th deadline, which is the close of the competition, is it a design, a prototype, a working functional solution, or a proposal that's required? Any of the above, right? Our goal is to bring your solutions forward into production. So if you have a production ready solution, bring it, we'll judge it, and off we go. If you have a prototype, functional, not so functional, the folks on this call are here to help us to bring that solution to life, right? So any of the above is the right answer. And question number 2, who owns the IP after completion? You do. Folks who are putting together their projects will own their IP. Of course, the folks from DLT and Digital Asset will keep their little secrets to themselves, but the solution is yours and you get to keep it and you get to showcase it as much as possible. Do we have any other questions? No, I think that is pretty much it. Anything else from our panel here?
It's nice to see everyone focused on making this technology more approachable. So I think we have slightly different approaches, but focused on the same thing, as making the technology approachable to business analysts. So this is nice. It's great to see the industry evolve like this over time and mature. So good sign.
Good times.
Right. It's all about to increase the blockchain adoption and make sure that how it is easy for various type of people to consume those platforms to solve their day-to-day problem and to solve our overall big problem about how the data are getting consumed and produced. So remove those silos. So everybody is trying to do their part. You are you are trying to do from a different perspective, we are trying to do from a different perspective. We have a different product suite also for developer tool set. But today the whole focus was towards something where business people can come, where they have something, they know what the problem they need to have, what problem they are having. They are able to define those entities properly, so they can build a solution on their own. It's all obfuscated and abstracted. And there are different tool set where somebody wants to build something from scratch, down to bottom, everything, want to change in every way how the industry looks like and disrupt overall everything, right? So yeah.
Great, thank you very much. Few more seconds to let anybody ask a question, and if not, we'll close off this this session. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much for participating. Just a quick reminder that let me share my screen for a second here. You know, if you need more information, feel free to reach out to us anytime. We are recording, and we'll make the recording of this session available to everyone who joined and who registered. And, you know, reach out to us, any of us on the call today. We'll be happy to help. So if no other questions, no other comments, again, thank you very much on behalf of the Canadian Blockchain Supply Chain Association. We hope you register, and we hope you come and have fun with us. Oh, hold on for a second. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, and we'll close this session.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.